Grab your water, a notepad and pen, and strap in, ladies and gents, because this might be a long ride. Okay, as promised, today we're going to be talking about your nutrition, but first I just wanted to say a quick thank you to everybody who liked my last video and for all your little personal messages. I really appreciate it. You're all starbars. Now, over the past year, I've gotten really into my nutrition and what makes my body feel like it's functioning at a high performance level, making me feel like I'm an Olympic athlete, if you will. It has taken a lot of research, and to be honest, there's so much information out there that it can be quite overwhelming if you're not sure what exactly you're looking for. So I've written down all the bits and pieces that I've looked into, things that I've had to address or things that have helped me with my journey, and I've broken it down into 3 areas of research, or 4 if you're a woman, lucky us. The first 2 areas relate to increasing your self-awareness, so looking at associations you have with foods and eating patterns or habits. Then we have foods specific for your needs, and if you're a woman, there is the menstrual cycle. I'm going to ask a series of questions relating to this area. It might relate to you, it might not relate to you, but if it does, feel free to pause the video and jot down your answer. And if it triggers any other kind of questions in your head, feel free to write that down too. When answering these questions, it's important to address whether these associations have a negative or unhelpful nature. Are they hindering your progress? And question why you have these associations. Okay, let's get started. Do you think about food a lot? And remember to answer why. So is it because you're bored? Do you have a family to feed? Or do you obsess over food? How do you view food? As a form of fuel or energy, or something to indulge in that you crave? What do you think about carbs? What do you think about protein? What do you think about fats? Do you treat yourself with food? Do you feel guilty when you eat certain foods? Are you ever pissed off with yourself for eating too much? Did you grow up being told to finish the food on your plate? Looking at the associations you have with food is really helpful because it might be necessary to actually break some of those linkages. It's good to be open-minded when you're looking into nutrition, because the very foods that you've been limiting or avoiding your whole life might be the foods that your body will actually thrive on. This category could be hugely eye-opening depending on how self-aware you already are. So remember to question why you have these eating patterns or habits and really try to get to the root cause of it. Then you'll want to think of ways to change or prevent this, and that might involve a bit of research. Do you eat more when you're stressed? Are you in a hurry when you eat? Do you restrict yourself all day and then end up binging at night? Do you binge eat regularly? Do you snack a lot? If there are sweets in your house, do they last long? Not in my house. If you have something sweet during the day, do you justify it by saying, I won't have anything sweet tonight? But then you do, and you get annoyed about it. Do you eat well Monday to Thursday, and then it all goes out the window Friday to Sunday? If you have a tendency to overeat, where do you eat, and are you distracted? So, are you watching TV while you eat? Do you eat to be full, or do you eat everything on your plate? If you find yourself having to eat everything on your plate, it could be because you grew up with parents telling you to, like we mentioned in food associations. One way to help this could be learning about portion control, so that whenever you do make a plate of food for yourself, you're making enough to make you just full. Now, if you're a fast eater, you might want to take measures to ensure that you have enough time to eat, because when you eat slower, you're more likely to know when you are full, instead of absolutely horsing into your dinner and being stuffed after, unable to move for an hour or two. There are probably a lot more questions that I could have asked but haven't thought of yet, so instead I just want you to ask yourself, is there anything that you do that could be deemed quite self-destructive when it comes to your diet? What is the reason for you going off track in the past? And if you're trying to lose weight, what generally is your downfall? And then ask yourself, what can I do to prevent this behaviour from happening again, or what can I do to change my behaviour? It can take time to break a habit, but it can be done. This is where your own research will really need to kick in. So if you answer yes to any of these next questions, begin your nutrition research there. Do you have skin problems like acne, rosacea, cysts, eczema? After listening to a nutritional podcast recently, I actually found out that nightshade vegetables, so things like tomatoes and peppers, can cause eczema for some people and can also aggravate arthritis pain. Have you any diagnosed health concerns? Things like diabetes, IBS, epilepsy. I showed a clip about the Charlie Foundation in another video of mine where they go into detail on the fact that the ketogenic diet has proved successful in curing epilepsy for some people. Charlie himself went keto for 5 years, cured his epilepsy, and now just eats whatever he wants. So it's kind of interesting to note as well that a change you make now might not need to be a lifelong change. Do you suffer from mental health problems like depression, anxiety, bipolar? Do you suffer from overthinking, lack of focus, or fatigue? Do you have any hormonal imbalances like PCOS? Do you have consistent gut issues like bloating, gas, constipation, heartburn? How do you feel after you eat certain foods like gluten, fruit, veg, dairy? Keeping a food diary can be really handy to help determine your level of tolerance for a food. If you've been tested by a doctor to see if you were lactose intolerant or celiac before and it came back negative, you might not be allergic to the food, but you still might not feel great after you eat it. And if that's the case, maybe try to cut it out for 2 or 3 weeks and see how you go. Now, depending on your research, you may require a huge change of diet, or you might just need to tweak 1 or 2 things. But either way, make sure to look up some foods that you think you're going to miss or crave and find some alternatives. Women tend to experience different symptoms during their cycle and at different points during their cycle, so it's important to just be aware of those symptoms and when they're happening. Do you get cravings during your cycle? Do you have a tendency to binge during your cycle? Do you get upset or down during your cycle? Do you get mood swings during your cycle? Do you take birth control? I've had experiences where certain birth controls would make me retain water or feel bloated a lot, so if that's a symptom that you have, it could be relating to your birth control. So what do you do now that you've done all this research and you want to lose weight? Well, first of all, from your research, whether there's foods that you need to consume more of or foods that you need to eliminate from your diet, just begin by doing that. Give yourself 2 to 4 weeks of adjusting to this whole new diet and getting used to the types of foods you should be eating. There's no point going absolutely cold turkey, eliminating all these foods from your diet and also decreasing your calories significantly. Chances are you'll burn out. So just apply the changes and work on eating when you feel hungry and not thinking about the calories. Trying to figure out if you want to eat because you're hungry or if you want to eat because you're bored can be quite difficult. So in times like this, just remember to drink water, because sometimes that's actually all you need. The time it will take for you to get comfortable and get used to your new diet will depend on how big of a change that diet is. After implementing your change of diet, you might find that some of the weight that you were hoping to lose has actually already started falling off. And if that's the case, happy days. But this new change of diet could equally just make you feel great, reduce your bloating, give you more energy, or just help you out in areas that you needed help. And so now you're looking to lose that bit of weight. This is when you need to start looking at your level of activity. So how much exercise you do, if you go walking a lot, if your job is sitting down at a desk all day, how much energy are you really burning? Very few of us want to give up food, so the alternative to that is burn more energy, which means increasing your activity levels. But as I said, there also is the alternative of just decreasing the amount of food you consume. But the one thing to carry through this whole process is to be gentle with yourself. Sometimes you'll just want to eat 2 or 3 slices of cake and do it. It's fine, you're human, but what you need to remember is to not feel guilty for doing that, or not completely self-destruct after doing it and return to old bad habits. This is where your self-awareness comes in. Be kind to yourself. Your own personal nutrition is a journey, and there can be some times where there's a bit of trial and error involved. What might have worked for one person didn't work for somebody else. But that's what makes it so rewarding when you finally get to a place where you feel like your body is functioning, as I said, at a high performance level. So stick with it and do your research now, because it is your body and you need to take care of it. So take responsibility for it. Look into what foods are best for you. I hope you all enjoyed this video and found it somewhat insightful. If you did, click that like button and feel free to subscribe. I'll be back again next week with another video.